compression that you want.
A soft cushion footbed for all-day comfort.
I'm on my feet at least 9 to 10 hours a day. These were fantastic. A lot of compression socks are a little too thin, especially for what I do. With CopperFit, I could wear these every day.
Feel more energized. Feel more active. Just feel better.
They just hug your leg. It relieves all the pressure that you have. I have so much energy, I can go, hey, you want to dance?
The first ever easy on, easy off compression sock. The most comfortable compression sock you will ever wear. Get your CopperFit Energy Socks now online at GetEnergySocks.com for only $19.99 or call 1-800-978-1224. Order right now and we'll include a second pair of compression socks free.
I've never felt anything like it before.
No more pain, no more swelling, no more achy, tired feet.
I can never go back to regular compression socks again.
Don't settle for ordinary. Ask for the original by name, CopperFit Energy Socks.
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
You don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Wednesday, 20 May, year of our Lord 2020. We're live from Capitol Hill, the United States of the Federal Reserve, right across the street from the Supreme Court in the plaza that houses our nation's capital. Live in the John Fredericks Radio Network, FM 99.1, 103.9 in Chicago. Of course, Dish Channel 219, the great team at americasvoice.news, and Newsmax TV, Chris Ruddy and the group down in Florida, now in 70 million homes throughout the world on Nexus IRRS. And also, later in the day, subtitled in Mandarin through G News, G Media, GTV. We know the Chinese Communist Party and the intelligence services love to watch that in Mandarin. And they're going to love it today because we've got the American Crusade. Pete Hegseth is now joining us. Before we get to Pete, I just got to say, you talk about owning the libs on a cover. I mean, this is full. They're going to go, I wish Barnes & Noble was open in New York City on 14th Street, if nothing, to have the 100 copies in the front.
That is so badass.
When you walk
Where's the bald eagle on his shoulder or something?
This is, how can you own the libs just on the book cover? It's the most dramatic book cover I think I've seen in so long.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Pete Hegseth, very, very understated elegance on this. For the radio audience, it's called American Crusade, Our Fight to Stay Free. The author is Pete Hegseth. You know him from Fox and Friends and over at Fox. We know him as a colleague and a buddy. We've known Pete for years and a true fighter. Pete, thanks for joining us here in the War Room.
Steve, guys, thanks for having me. You know me. I'm always understated. This is what I go for. That's my target audience.
But listen, here's what I want to go back in time, though, because, I give Jack Maxey a lot of grief for going to Yale. I went to the trade school at Harvard. You went to one of the trade schools in the business school. You're a Harvard grad, but you got into, I think, arguably the hardest college, university in the country, get in Princeton as an undergraduate. Walk us through your history. I don't think people know this. I don't think they know about the 2 Bronze Stars. I don't think they know about your military service. They don't understand. Before you were Pete Hegseth throwing down on Fox and Friends and on Fox, you have been a patriot for many, many decades. Talk to us about how you got there. And you're not one of these elitists that got to Princeton. You came in kind of the hard way, and then you've served your country. Walk us through your history.
Well, thanks, Stephen. Thank you for having me. I love everything you guys are doing on this program. Yeah, I was a child of privilege because I grew up in a patriotic community full of faith with parents who loved me and taught me to work hard and appreciate this country. That's it. They said, if you want to go somewhere, you got to make it yourself. And so I loved nothing but basketball till I was about 20 years old, and Princeton had a great team, and I made it on the team, and that was great, but it was clear I was never going to become a superstar. So I quickly shifted to the conservative publication at Princeton and ROTC. They had an ROTC program there. And listen, that was the first time I met like naked liberalism in front of me. I mean, I knew Princeton was more left wing. I didn't realize how bad it had really gotten. So I fought the fight. It was 9/11. Ultimately validated why I wanted to serve. I went into the military, graduated. And listen, I went from rooming with millionaires and kids of millionaires at Princeton to rooming with hundredaires at Guantanamo Bay and Iraq. And it was the best experience I had in my life. Was fighting with the best men and women in this country overseas and fought with the 101st Airborne, came back. Got involved in vets organizations. I think, Steve, that may be at some point in there we crossed paths, and I was fighting to help the guys on the ground make sure they had everything they need to fight and win. Ultimately, Barack Obama's elected and throws the whole thing under the bus, and we get the rise of ISIS. But then I also went to the Kennedy School at Harvard, and I'll tell you, once you spend time at these places, you realize how condescending their view is to average people and how every solution is a government solution. It drips from where they are. We are the privileged class. Everyone else, the masses, the unwashed masses, the deplorables, they'll never get it. And that's why I think my military experience and my middle class background in small town Minnesota have served me really well. And I try as best I can every day on TV and in the work that I do and in this book to channel, and the president does it better than anybody else, remembering the forgotten men and women, channeling the common sense wisdom of good Americans who work hard every day, who put their hands together and pray to the good Lord, who understand why America is so special. They don't want to hand out, they just want to succeed, and I try to channel that in the book as well. So I went on to run a vets group, Concerned Vets for America. We fought to fix the VA, frankly, overhaul it completely. The president's been big involved in that. And then one day they asked me to start asking questions and wear makeup on Fox. And now here I am. Yes.
You go, and guys, I want you to jump in here, but I want to get back to one key point. And this is about elite institutions. You've competed at the highest level, and you've shown that you can compete at the highest level. I sometimes hear in the Trump movement, I sometimes hear among our base, these places are bad and you shouldn't send your kids there, you should just ignore them. You can't do that. That's given up to the elites, that's given up to the apparatus. If you can get in, you've got to go. You've got to go to Kennedy School. You've got to go to Princeton. If you can get in these places, you've got to go. It steals you when you're there, but you've got to go. What are your thoughts?
Steve, I'm mixed on that. I agree with you that the people that are prepared and fortified to go should go. And they should be the salt and light, and they should be the warriors, the people we need to mix it up, to prove there's another side, to learn what the left is trying to do. That was the best part of going to both places for me. But if your kid's not prepared, if you haven't trained them or taught them or raised them up, it's not just the elite schools now, guys. It is all the public schools, private schools, Catholic schools, others that have been captured by almost every form of leftism and are going to transform your kids. I mean, if I had $1 for every time I went to one of these diners on Fox and Friends and talked to people, and people would come up to me and said, I sent my kid to college as a earnest, hardworking patriot, and they came back a Bernie supporter. How in the world did that happen? It's because we don't have our eyes wide open of how poisoned higher education truly is and how much we need to prepare our kids for it or find an alternative. So yeah, salt and light is a big part of it. Go to the best institutions and own them, but know who your kids are and whether they're ready.
Before I turn it over to the team, one other thing. I want to talk about your journey of coming to the awareness of President Trump and really what he stood for, more than just the surface. This guy's a reality TV star, et cetera. Walk us through your journey of how from when you first, the Trump movement and Trump, and then really becoming, I would argue, one of the best defenders. You're not a cheerleader. You actually get in because of your Princeton and Harvard training. You can get in back what the issues are and actually defend the direction where the president's heading. Walk us through your journey and how you got here.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump and the movement you guys were a part of changed my entire paradigm and understanding of politics. Like a lot of people on the right, I was sort of baptized in the think tank, establishment, Republican, conservative, go along. Yeah, we're right in principle, and that may mean we lose, but that's just the way the deck is stacked. And so I was, the second chapter of my book starts with, hi, my name is Pete Hegseth, and I was almost a never Trumper. And the reason I write that is because, listen, it's true. I was a Rubio guy, and then I was a Cruz guy, and after 8 years of Obama, I wanted the silver-tongued conservative litigation of leftism, quoting de Tocqueville and Bill Buckley, and unleashing conservatism in its most purest form. And then Donald Trump showed up on that escalator, and I didn't know what to think of it or what it all meant. And a lot of the issues he talked about had been sidelined: immigration, trade, foreign policy had been sidelined by the establishment and were sort of taboo to be truly tackled. I was baptized in that view too. Well, then I had my Trump conversion moment, which is in the book. In fact, a couple of them. And then when you saw the left react to him the way that they did, you start to realize this guy's attacking into the kill zone so boldly that the left, who's been laying in the grass for a long time, now has to pop up and expose themselves for who they are. And we know how deep and poisoned the well of resistance truly is across all institutions of our culture and our politics. And this is not an election about left versus right or marginal tax rates. This is, do you love our country or not? Do you believe in borders or not? Do you believe in citizenship or not? Do you support the cops or not? Do you stand up for the national anthem or not? Do you believe in capitalism or are you a socialist? I mean, those were the true battle lines of 2016. And once you started to understand, you say, Donald Trump is our American crusader. He's our man in the arena. And if you didn't believe him in 2016, he kept every promise he said he would keep going into 2020. So now we've got another reason to double down on it. So I think, like any convert, you're a little bit more, you're just as zealous, but you know exactly why you came over to the cause. And in this case, it's a president who's delivered, who's taken on the big issues, and who's reminded us that national sovereignty, citizenship, borders, honoring your people and securing their economic security is central to the modern nation state. It's American nationalism is what the American crusade is, something you guys talk about all the time.
Pete, you talk a lot about, there are a lot of biblical references, just even in your talking now, whether it be in the converts or the baptism or salt and light, of course, going to the Sermon on the Mount. You talk a lot in the book about your personal faith journey. How big is this for you in your day-to-day life? And where do you see that working with what you're talking about on the political side? Where does it butt up against or go head-to-head? And sometimes you have to say, wait a minute, here's what my moral belief is, my belief in God, and here's where my political beliefs are.
Well, you know, I think it informs everything for me. Certainly it informs the foundings of our country, but I come at faith from the most flawed and sinful person I know, right? I mean, I need salvation because I'm imperfect and lost without my Lord and Savior. All of that's the personal side. So I come at it from humility, not a Bible banging, I'm better than you, or I've got the answers, or you're doomed to hell. It's I know I need Jesus for my own internal compass. But then on the political side, we are entirely rudderless as free people without the Bible, without the core teachings of Western civilization in Jerusalem. Without Jerusalem, combined with Athens, there is no Western civilization. The biblical narrative is the core of who we are, and we've ripped it out of our public schools. We've ripped it out of the public square to the point where most kids, ask them coming out of high school, who's Abraham, who's Isaac, who's Moses, who's Jacob, why do they matter? Name three of the apostles. What was the conversion on the road to Damascus? And yeah, that's important to your own salvation as an individual Christian, but it's also our collective story as Americans, as crusaders, as members of Western civilization that we're not perpetuating to the next generation. Then you also get seduced into the idea that, well, my rights come from a governor who tells me I can go out now, or from government, as opposed to God. And you have to know that to know the true underpinnings of why our American experiment is so exceptional.
Before we go to break, and you guys jump in when we get back, I just want that faith journey, was that reinforced in your time in Iraq and Afghanistan? Was it as strong at Princeton? How did you, because now, I look at you and you said, hey, look, I'm very imperfect, I'm a sinner. But I noticed, and I've noticed this since I've gotten to know you well, you are a man of faith. Where did that come from?
My parents, first and foremost, introducing me to the Bible, church, reinforcing those basic values. But hey, at Princeton, I was told God wasn't true, that Jesus wasn't true. And I had to go to the library myself to reaffirm my own faith. And on the battlefield, listen, it's right there. I remember my mom praying for me while I was a platoon leader, and there was one night in particular, I was on a mission. It was deep into Al-Qaeda territory on an air assault. I'll never forget it, and I had a sense of calm over me that entire time that I had no business having. And I remember talking to my mom when I came back, and she said, for whatever reason, on that day at that time, she was on her knees for 4 hours praying for me, and was prompted to do so. She didn't know what I was doing. So I've seen that plus many iterations of my life where without God, I'm lost. And so, yes, it's a huge part of who I am and a huge part of what I want to teach my kids about, so they have that same opportunity.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. The book is American Crusade. It's a must read. You think you need to know Pete Hegseth on Fox and Friends. You don't know Pete Hegseth. You got to read. It's an incredible story. American patriot, 2-time awardee of a Bronze Star, volunteered, was at ROTC, then went and always took the toughest assignments. 101st Airborne, deep in enemy territory the entire time. It's a must read. Raheem, how do people get to all of our? I know # War Room Pandemic. Give them everything else, because today you're going to want to participate because you got Hegseth on.
Yeah, make sure you're going to warroom.org as your starting point for everything. warroom.org/newsletter, and we'll include a link to Pete's book in the War Room newsletter today as well. And make sure you're also following with the live chat. You can follow on Twitter at # War Room Pandemic, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can jump in the live chat. I'm actually in there right now.
We have a lot of Democrats, working class Democrats, that listen to the show. Buy this book. Get to know Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is going to return in a moment on War Room Pandemic.
The hottest new razor is taking the men's grooming world by storm. And if you don't have it, you need it. MicroTouch Solo, the hyper-advanced full-body razor that trims, shapes, edges, and even shaves with micro-precision. And it's totally safe to the touch. Go solo for full body control with one tool. No nicks, bumps, or ingrown hairs. Edge beards and goatees with one touch. Clean your neck, barber shop perfect. And check this out. Snap on the guide to tame growth and perfectly shape your full beard. And keep new growth stubble trimmed exactly to your style. And look, the Solo Full Body Groomer trims precisely the length of hair you want. Snap off the guide and remove unwanted hair anywhere in seconds. What makes Solo different than your ordinary razor? Dual-sided German stainless steel blade. Shave up or down at 200 microstrokes per second. The Ultra Flex pivoting head contours perfectly to you for precise results. 3 custom grooming guides for control of exact length and shape. And a built-in LED light so you never miss a spot. Solo is so precise, you need no creams, no soaps, and no water. Ditch the old man clippers and toss the scissors. You've got to go solo. Call 1-800-709-9777 or go online at microtouchsolo.com and get yours now for only $19.99. Complete with German stainless steel blade, pivoting head, built-in spotlight, and 3 custom grooming guides. Everything you see here for just $19.99. The all-new MicroTouch Solo Full Body Groomer. The one tool that does it all.
From roof to foundation, the damage to your home can be devastating, from clogged gutters, leaking roofs, rotting wood and fascia, and flooded basements. Protect your entire home with Leaf Filter, the nation's #1 rated gutter protection system. Once our ladders go up, you can put yours down forever.
One of the things that I like the most is that I don't have to get back on the ladder anymore.
Leaf Filter starts by cleaning, sealing, and realigning your gutters. We then install our micro mesh screen over your existing gutters, which is guaranteed to filter out everything except for water.
Trying other products is what made us finally go to Leaf Filter.
And Leaf Filter's lifetime transferable warranty makes it an extraordinary value.
Leaf Filter is going to make my home more valuable, especially when I go to sell it.
Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or go to getleaffilter.com for your free gutter inspection and estimate. Call or log on today and save 15%.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
The book is American Crusade. The author is Pete Hegseth. He is both patriot and leader. And I got to tell you, the book, you can't put it down. It's the real story of Pete Hegseth, everything he's been through in serving his country and kind of going through the liberal apparatus of Princeton and Harvard, and what he's been able to achieve in his life, and really some blinding insights to where our country is today.
Yeah, Pete, this is Jack Maxey. I was really impressed by some of the things you said. Like one of the things you said, our moment requires a holy war for the righteous cause of human freedom. And I thought that was really important. And as you know, we were quite focused on what's going on in China. And at one point, you equate the righteousness of the Polish freedom fighters under the Solidarity movement with the Hong Kong protesters. And also, you make a prediction at the end of the book where you see the collapse of the Chinese Communist Party. Can you talk a little bit about how do we motivate the righteous American patriots to get behind these people and help them achieve the goal of freedom?
The stakes are the same. They're the absolute same. I mean, Ronald Reagan rallied the country to the threat of godless communism in the USSR, and ultimately there were brave people on the front lines who were willing to stand up, and we had the vision and foresight to enable and empower those people. We're at a same moment right now. I think America First doesn't mean we ignore the big, looming, huge threats on the globe which seek to supplant us and destroy us, which is why you guys are so focused on the communist Chinese and everything they're attempting to do, because we know they have a dream. Their dream is the opposite of the American dream. They want to supplant us ideologically, culturally, economically, technologically, militarily, and they're doing so on all fronts right now. They've mastered the art of the steal in every way, and they're trying to take it to us right underneath our noses. This COVID-19 moment gives us a chance to educate. The re-election of Donald Trump would give him the chance to mobilize our nation against the single greatest threat that we face to our existence in the next 50 years, which is the communist Chinese. It requires finding those other freedom fighters, those other crusaders. You know, I talk about the legacy of the Poles is, of course, they were at the gates of Vienna in, I believe it was 1683, beating back the Muslim hordes that otherwise would have made their way to Europe. And the reason I chose American Crusade was very intentional. You used the words. It is a holy war in the righteous cause for human freedom. This is not just about voting. This is not just about one election cycle. This is a realignment for freedom fighters to recognize our culture has been rotted by leftism. Our educational system is entirely captured by leftists. And if we don't recapture those places and then mobilize to fit threats of the future, we could be in the ash bin of history. I mean, freedom is the exception to the rule for a reason. And it's going to require a bold leader like Donald Trump, and I think a movement of crusaders that are willing to paint a flag on their chest and go out and fight for it.
How do you do call it American Crusade, and you use terminology you know is going to trigger the progressive left. One, how do you do this day in and day out with the attacks you get? And number two, how do you hope to build this crusade? Walk us through the Pete Hegseth, hey, here's how we're going to build this movement, because I know there are literally millions of people out there want to join you. I think they want to hear from you how you're going to do this.
Well, first of all, like you, Steve, and everybody in this movement, the attacks only fuel me. The more attacks that come in, it means the closer you are to the target. So your skin gets thicker. That's okay. They can say whatever they want about me. And if Donald Trump can withstand what he takes every day and keep fighting, then I can take the incoming. But you're right. The word crusade is intentional in sort of its aggressiveness about things. But the action items, guys, are not as if you have to sell all your possessions in Europe and head to Jerusalem on a horse to recapture the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. That's not what we're talking about necessarily, at least not yet. What we're talking about is, do you know what your kids are being taught? I mean, I talk about the front lines of this fight in chapter, I believe, 13, and it's education and Israel. And the idea that if you don't understand Israel, you don't understand the West, you don't understand America. So that's the front lines of understanding our fight as crusaders and members of Western civilization. But education, this is where we've lost. This is where the progressives went first. This is where they started in the 40s and 50s and 60s. You rip God out through constitutional decisions. You're very intentional about changing civics into social studies. You start to get into the Common Core that we have now and the nonsense of genderism. You start to, introduce ideas of socialism and not defend American capitalism. And you wonder why we now have a generation of kids coming out who see themselves first, and polling shows it. Scary stuff. Worse elsewhere, but it's happening here in America. See themselves first as global citizens. That's why you get the logic of no person can be illegal and open borders. And so if you're not training the next generation to love the country, you're lost altogether, because the communist Chinese have a coherent ideology, the Islamists have a coherent ideology, and they pump it into their kids every single day. And we're not doing any of that. So it's simple stuff of parents first looking at their own arena of what they can affect, and am I doing enough? And is it homeschooling? Is it finding a Christian classical school? Is it finding a patriotic school? Is it just watchdogging your public school very aggressively and then raising hell if you can't? And then there's 4 or 5 other iterations outside of that in ways that you can do it. But it starts with you, and then you move out into how you support the larger cause of, say, what the president's doing.
Pete, it's Raheem here. I have been asking our audience in the YouTube live chat if they have any questions for him. There are a ton of questions coming in, a ton of compliments coming in, compliments on the backdrop as well behind you. 6 or 7 American flags we've counted. Lots of people thanking you for your service as well. One of the questions that stood out to me, and I know you've touched on this, we've talked about this, but I just want to bring this specifically in. It says, throughout our history, churches have been on the forefront of defending freedom. How do we get our churches into this fight again? So not necessarily about the people themselves and what education they can take away from the church, but how institutionally do we get the churches involved in this fight?
I think the president has first done the right things by removing the potential persecution or scrutiny that comes from talking about politics or policy from the pulpit. You got to start there. The government can't be cracking down on churches that decide to get active civically. But I think we need a revival in civic understanding in our churches. I think, listen, I went to a big seeker-sensitive Baptist church in Minnesota. I now go to a Baptist church here in New Jersey where I live. And they were they're very good at saving souls. And that's a great thing. Listen, I love that. We should do it. But super tepid about engaging in the culture and in the battles we're fighting right now against godless leftists who want to take it all away. And I think, efforts to fortify pastors and get them more involved in the civic discourse is a good thing. And the way the president has put them front and center as advisors, invited them to the White House, elevated them, National Day of Prayer, all the things, even more aggressively than his predecessors, is starting to introduce the idea that it's okay to do just that. So faith has to be front and center. Listen, the revolution was fought by a lot of mass, preachers and ministers who emptied out their universities and said, now's not the time for the books. Now's the time for the battlefield.
Places like the College of New Jersey, then Princeton. I want to go to where do you stand right now as far as your thinking on the reopening and where we are in this pandemic, and where do you think we have to go about reopening the country?
First of all, you guys have first-class info, what you guys are doing on this podcast. I check it out all the time. Where I am is we need to reopen. That's where I'm at. I think we need to responsibly reopen our country and give individual citizens enough respect that they can make their own risk calculations for their own lives. And the gigantic caveat that goes over all of it is if you don't want to go out, it is your choice not to do that. And I'm not just talking about in places that have been hit less. Of course, it applies there. I'm talking about New Jersey, where I am, or New York. I mean, I'm calling it the revolt of the salon owners and the revolt of the gym owners and the revolt of the restaurant owners who look at the big box stores. I mean, I went to a Target the other day and I drove into a packed parking lot, which churches can't do. Then I sat in a football field sized line, stood in that line for a half hour before going through the same register that everyone else went through. Yet the 3 stores where I could have bought it before I got there are all shuttered. And this gym owner in New Jersey, who we've covered on Fox a lot, he's taking temperatures, he's asking for health questionnaires, he's only allowing you to work out for an hour, you socially distance when you're in there, spray it all down before you use it, and after you use it, you have to wear masks inside. far greater protocols than bigger businesses have. And he's standing up saying, why can't I make a livelihood? Every job is essential. So I've come pretty quickly. I think the president's handled it right. Slow the curve. Everyone will do that. Give guidelines to the governors. Now the pressure is on the governors to stop being one size fits all, picking winners and losers. And if you're really looking at the data, we know precisely, as you guys have talked about, who this impacts. Protect those people. Otherwise, we have to get back to business, or the economic damage of this will be far worse than what we saw from COVID-19.
Pete, we've got about a minute left. 2 quick questions. Number one, if President Trump was to ask you to go into the administration to serve your country again, would you do it, sir? Yes or no?
Yes. I mean, it would be an honor to serve a president if they were to ask you at any time, but I'm also not lobbying for it. I'm grateful for my platform at Fox doing my job. I've learned to just put my head down and fight for the things you believe in. If someone asks you to do something great, fine, take a look at it. But I'm obviously a huge supporter of the president, and if he were to ask, I would take a hard look at it.
I know when you were a standard stock Republican, you ran in a Republican primary for the Senate in Minnesota in 2012, I think it was, first time I met you. Everybody asks me that knows that I know you, says, is Pete Hegseth going to run for office again? Is there a political future in your future?
I don't know. I don't know where 5 years ago, if you asked me where I'd be today, I'd have no idea. All I know is that I want to focus on what I can do to fight for God and country every single day. I've been afforded this amazing platform at Fox, which I'm grateful for. We're fighting for this amazing president. I have no plans to run for office, none. And it's a wonderful feeling to be liberated from that speculation or calculation. If someday it were to open up, fine, I'd take a look at it, but not right now.
Patriot Warrior American. It's Pete Hegseth. The book is American Crusade. It's a must read, and particularly for the Democrats in our audience, get this book. I think you'll learn a lot, and you'll learn a lot about a great man. Pete, thank you for joining us on American.
Thank you guys for everything you do.
War Room Pandemic.
You great Americans. Thanks.
We're going to return in a second with some analysis and talk about Pete Hegseth next on War Room Pandemic.
Tired of struggling with regular mirrors that don't adjust so you can't get close enough? Need both hands but you don't have a stand? Can't move in the right direction to see your own reflection? You need Flexible Mirror, the bendable, light-up magnification mirror that comes to you. Watch. Just stick it on and turn the base. The super suction locking mechanism means you can put it on any smooth surfaced place, horizontal or vertical. Lock it onto any mirror, table, or desk. Use it in the shower, even on a window. The secret is Flexible Mirror's super strong articulating arm that's attached with an ingenious ball and socket so it can swivel and rotate for the perfect angle. And look how strong it holds. The mirror is precision crafted with 10 times magnification and crystal clear optics. And with a soft glow LED ring, you'll get picture perfect lighting to highlight every detail. Flexible Mirror makes shaving, applying makeup, hairstyling, grooming, and accessorizing easier than ever before. Plus, men, listen up. The 10 times magnification makes it perfect for giving your beard a detailed trim. Whatever you need to do, Flexible Mirror comes to you. Plus, the contemporary chrome accents add a lovely modern touch to any room. Stop struggling to put in your delicate contacts and let Flexible Mirror come to you, so it's much easier to do. Similar mirrors can cost as much as $100, and they don't even come to you. But you can get Flexible Mirror for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. We guarantee you'll love the Flexible Mirror so much that it comes with our 90-day no questions asked money-back guarantee. And here's the best part. We give you free shipping on your entire order. That's right, free shipping. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-987-6183. That's 1-800-987-6183 or order online at tryflexiblemirror.com.
Jim and Joanne are here to pick up the same prescription. They both know the system is not on their side. They both know drug costs are out of control. But one of them is taking back control with GoodRx.
Next.
So while he's paying that much, even with his insurance, she's paying this much just by using GoodRx. Use GoodRx to compare prices at pharmacies in your area and stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today and take back control.
I see what's possible instead of what's here. Others see cracked concrete, broken backboards, run-down courts. I see a way to bring pride back to communities. Art can change it all. Bright colors, a bold vision, and it can be somewhere that brings people together. for games, or hangouts, or whatever. A place that makes people proud, like this is my neighborhood. That's why I made Project Backboard, and a site with GoDaddy. How will you make your mark? Make the world you want.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
You know, and I mean this. I know all the Trump supporters out there are going to want to get Hegseth's book, but particularly for the economic nationalist Democrats that listen to this show, you should get this. You'll learn about a guy. And here's what I love about Hegseth: he doesn't talk it, he walks it. Right? When to read the stuff about his time in combat and his time with the 101st Airborne, this is a guy that's always run to the fire. And that's what's so impressive about this guy. This is not one of these guys who's going to sit there and tell you all this and talk about this. Hegseth is a doer. And that's why he's a very unique guy. And he's the first to admit he's a very imperfect instrument, as all of us are, right? And the President of the United States knows he's a very imperfect instrument. But that's, through a lot of imperfect tools and instruments, we make progress. And it's an incredibly impressive book. And here's the other thing. The guy is amazingly well read. Look, you don't get into Princeton. Basketball or no, if you're not incredibly bright, and you particularly then don't get to the Harvard graduate schools or over at Kennedy School. Hegseth's a very smart guy. That's why I had to goof on him on the cover. I mean, he's now, the leader of part of this Liberate, and people relate to him. He's a man's man. But this guy is incredibly well read. I mean, the connection he makes in China and Hong Kong and with solidarity, those are dots you're connecting that a guy that's really thought about this a lot.
I read the book over the weekend, and Steve, he really encourages you to take custody of your birthright as an American, to really acknowledge what is important about our country and the freedom that got us here. And so it's really quite an inspiring book. I mean, you'll like it.
We can't say enough about it. American Crusade. Pete Hegseth, a really unique individual. We got a lot to cover here in this segment. We're going to have Raynard Jackson. Raheem is going to do an interview with Raynard Jackson in the next segment on, once again, Chinese influence. And this is in the Black Journalist Association. Big story last week with Van Jones and these guys. Raynard, as you know, is a longtime friend of the show, has really stood up and I think taken a very bold stance, and we want to get into that. But talking about China, there's some polling out on China you were talking to me last night about.
Yeah, and yesterday when I talked about the new Pew numbers as they had tweeted out, they actually tweeted out their poll from about a month ago, but they tweeted out again yesterday. And I just want to go through just to so it wasn't breaking. It was a breaking tweet, but it wasn't actually a new poll from Pew.
Why did they do that? They just want people to reinforce
it's hot in the news cycle.
Yeah,
it's hot in the news cycle. It's good clicks. And look, I mean, their marketing department. Look, you can pretty much tweet out.
No, it's a fabulous study. More people ought to be talking. Remember, we were the guys really spent all the time when it first came out. Nobody wanted to talk about it.
So let's do a quick level set on what the Pew number said. They said 91% of Americans saw that the rise of China and the challenge to America is being a threat, which is that's like 91%. You can get people at 91% to agree what color the sky is outside. So that's a pretty big. Okay, people are woke to this. It is happening. As Ron Paul would say. But as we start going through, there are some differences in the party affiliations. Overall, China now has a 66% unfave rating. That number it's as high as 72 for Republicans, as low as 62 for Democrats. But it's a 20-point increase since President Trump took office. Now, obviously, there have been a convergence of a number of things. Now there's new polling out from Politico and Morning Consult, and it's written by Mark Caputo at Politico, so it's got a very, very biased lead to it. But the headline, anti-China sentiment is on the rise, and finds more voters view China as an enemy, as Trump and Biden are taking shots in here. But what really goes through is that just since January, and this is what's different, say, the Pew poll did from President Trump took office until now, just since January, the percentage of U.S. voters who say China is an enemy has risen by 11 percentage points to 31%. Now, that's a massive jump in a short stretch, especially with the direct enemy tag, not a competitor, not a threat to our leadership. However, only 31% there's still a long ways to go when you have both Trump and Biden out there slugging each other for who's tougher on China or who's softer on China, which, by the way, Joe Biden's all over the map. He doesn't know if he wants to have the 25 hours of one-on-one talks with Xi, as our man Jack found, or if he wants to talk about, being xenophobic and racist, or I'm going to be tough on China. So he's kind of all over the place. And also as a correlation there, that percentage of voters say China is an ally or friend has fallen 9 points to 23%. So 31% enemy, friend or ally is at 23%. This is pretty big movement in American psychology.
Here's one thing too, and by the way, with Pete Hegseth, we didn't ask Pete because his Twitter handle is, and that's a woke Twitter handle. We have Pete's. Want to make sure we get Pete's up there. Ours # War and Pandemic. Want to hear all your voices. I want to go back to this for a second. This is the key point. This is the reason I am public enemy number one by the CCP and by all state-owned media. They used to hit me up on those the White House when I first left the White House, but they've inundated it, and here's why it's a good thing. They've got the what's called the young pioneers, the kind of the Hitler youth of the Chinese Communist Party now doing commercials on CCTV. They had an editorial to open the news 2 weeks ago, which they've never done before. Here's why. They are scared to death that we have now bifurcated. Here's the issue. It's not about China as a nation. It's not about the Chinese people. The American people and the Chinese people have always had a very close relationship until the Chinese Communist Party took over. Remember, the clipper ship days, the missionaries that went to China. China was our ally in World War II. They call it the forgotten ally. They were in the Pacific like the Russians were against the Nazis. They took tremendous combat casualties. Right now, they had a civil war against each other at the same time. But the Chinese people and the American people are always bonded. This is what was so powerful about Matthew Pottinger. Pottinger is the former Marine major, Wall Street Journal. He's a Wall Street Journal reporter who volunteered while he's at the Wall Street Journal to go into the Marine Corps and fight after 9/11. Kind of guy like a Hegseth, right? He learned Mandarin. He gave this magnificent talk at the University of Virginia, or one of their conferences, on May 4th that tied together the kind of spiritual traditions of the Judeo-Christian West with the philosophical understandings of ancient Chinese philosophy, and kind of made a bond. There is a bond between the Chinese people, Lao Baixing, and the deplorables, these working class people. Lao Baixing means old 100 names, because in China, the rule of thumb, there's 100 last names, right? Those are the working class people and the peasants that have always always been dumped on for millennia. And there's a bond here. What we've been able to do is to highlight to the American people that this is the Chinese Communist Party. This is really the unfinished work. We thought we had a short 20th century. I made a film about that from 1914 to 1989, from the trenches, from the guns of August, all the way to the fall of the Berlin Wall. The end of history was wrong. We now realize we have the unfinished business of the 20th century is what begins the 21st, and that is we have not taken down communism throughout the world. It's what Hegseth said in that magnificent connection between the young protesters in Hong Kong and the Solidarity movement, right? That's connecting the dots of these two things. Ronald Reagan, remember, when Reagan came into office, they mocked and ridiculed him as an amiable dunce, and this guy, Henry Kissinger, says he's the most dangerous man in America because the rapprochement and the SALT treaties and all that, because Russia was the rising power and we had to accommodate it. It's just simply the Thucydides trap. It's what they sold the elites on here. And the elites, remember, we're a tributary state. This is the way the Chinese Communist Party, being an heir to the Chinese emperors in their court, look at tributary states. They buy off the elite. It's what the British East India Company did. You buy off the elite. You incentivize them economically. Particularly, they knew when elites had lost faith in the underlying governing tenets and spiritual movements of their own land. That's what the Chinese knew back in forever. This is how the British knew it the same way. Once they lose that beginning of faith, our elites, the party of Davos, the city of London, Wall Street, the global corporations, the media, as Pete Hegseth says time and time again in the book, American Society, they lost the beliefs in the underpinnings of the Judeo-Christian West. And once you do that, it's all about money. Remember, at the deep seed of this is this materialistic, communistic, atheistic way of a totalitarian, mercantilist dictatorship versus the Judeo-Christian West and what it means in places like India, in Africa, in Latin America, and throughout the world, in Japan and South Korea. Okay, it's those elements of freedom and self-responsibility. This is what this great fight's about. And that's what's making the Chinese Communist Party's heads blow up, because they've been now outed. And now we look at who their cheerleaders have been and how they've gotten to have the West and the United States as tributary states. How did this happen? This is the power of China RX. We had Eric Edwards on here today. People didn't understand until a couple of weeks ago that all the supply chains on what you take for your basic drugs, if you know, penicillin, antibiotics, vitamin C, aspirin, the basics, the precursor drugs, the active pharmaceutical agreements, the APIs, the generic drugs, all of it made in by the Chinese Communist Party in China. How is that? Wall Street and the corporations sent it over. And that's what this polling to me is so stunning, because you're right, 91% of the American people don't agree the sun's going to rise in the east, as we shouldn't. We're a 50-50 nation, or at best, I always say 2/3, 1/3, right? We're always fighting about something, as we should. It's called a democracy, right? And that's what the democracy is about. We're always arguing and fighting about something. We agree on the basics, and that's what the power, I think, of Hex's book is. And it's also what this moment in history is. This is why this is a fourth turning. This is going to set the direction of the nation for the next 100 years. Next 2 or 3 generations are going to be set in the activities that take place, decisions made, grit that's shown, the indefatigability of the West has been shown. And we have a very tough opponent. This morning in the South China Morning Post, I think it is, one of the Colonel Kuo Liang, who was a colonel at the time he wrote the book Unrestricted Warfare, is now a major general. He gave an interview, and he said, hey, the biggest strategic advantage we have right now is the manufacturing. They have more capital, they have better R&D, they have better universities, better research, but we actually have the manufacturing base. We actually have leverage over the United States, and we have it at one point in time. We've got to use it. He also talked about sovereignty, and his idea of sovereignty is so sophisticated. He says sovereignty is food supply. Sovereignty is health system. Sovereignty, he goes through the 7 building blocks of sovereignty. I would love to hear in the halls of Congress. The Chinese Communist Party are gangsters, but don't think they're not smart. They're smart, they're tough, they know how to roll.
I want to ask you a question here on this, Steve, because sometimes, look, we hammer on the CCP, but always are quick to reinforce this is not with the Chinese people. This is with the CCP. There's interesting head-to-head in here in the Morning Consult, and I think this is the first time I've ever seen this. It was who is more trusted to handle relations with China. And again, I just went through this, so they're kind of, it's largely on partisan lines. And of course, it's going to be, if you're Republican or Democrat, you're going to think. But it was 40% Biden, 38% Trump. So essentially a tie. It could just easily been people see it divided from where they are. Number one tells me there's a lot of growth there.
Yes.
How do we message this, though? Because it's not quite as simple as, hey, hate the sin, love the sinner. But it's separating the CCP from China. How do we message this going into the fall?
Here's what I think the message is that they're engaged in a hot war with us. As much as President Trump has tried to be a statesman, remember, the key to the integration, the uncoupling, to stay coupled, was the Lighthizer-Trump deal in the spring of 2019 they walked away from. If they had agreed with that at the time, okay, we could have maybe integrated these two systems and gone forward. They understood at the time, we're not going to do this. They made a strategic decision, uncoupled technologically. We're going to have our own standards, and to walk away from the Lighthizer deal, because those 7 verticals really integrated them to the entire thing. From that time forward, we were in a cold economic information war up until that time. They went to a hot war. Okay? And if you look at the decisions made in this pandemic, and let's set aside for a second whether it came from the lab in Wuhan. Let's leave aside for the second if it's part of a biological weapons program. That's all going to be adjudicated by the best intelligence services, the Five Eyes, the World Health Organization when they get focused, all of that, and the CDCs. Those investigations are taking place. Well, what we know from their chain of title of their actions, once they knew they had we'll be back.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this.
Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain and it's affecting your everyday life. You do something.
If you can find something to help you get back out and be active like Copperfit, go for it.
Absolutely.
Do not give up.
A high-performance compression fabric infused with the powerful properties of copper, 360-degree flexible mobility, and lightweight, durable construction.
Nothing more painful than having back pains. If you're aching, if you feel like you can't work out anymore, you can. And that's with Copperfit.
Yeah. It's for all of us who still want to be active, still want to compete.
Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this really does feel good. It feels to me like the fountain of youth.
Copperfit's best-selling back support just got bigger, badder, and better. Or call 1-800-944-5851. Or on the web at advancedbackpro.com. Get yours now for only $19.99.
This does feel good.
That's what I've been saying.
You think it was fair?
It was fun.
Play for the love of the game.
Copperfit, live limitless.
At Leaf Filter, we're on a never-ending journey to end gutter cleaning forever. Whoa! Way too dangerous, Bill. Say goodbye to that ladder. Way too clogged, Melissa. Those black gutters are causing serious damage to your home. Look at these cracks in your foundation. Leaf Filter, the nation's #1 rated gutter protection system, will keep you safe and protect your home. Leaf Filter's stainless micromesh screen fits over your existing gutters and is guaranteed to filter out everything except for water. No more leaves or debris in your gutters for the life of your home. Schedule your free gutter inspection and estimate, just like Paul. With Leaf Filter's lifetime warranty, we guarantee you'll never have to clean those nasty gutters again. Everybody okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
Call 833-LEAF Filter or go to getleaffilter.com for your free gutter inspection and estimate. Act now and save 15% off your purchase.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Hey guys, look, when I'm running through the break, you got to give me the signal today. I can talk about CCP all day long.
I was trying to give Vish the signal to kill the break.
No one wants
to let us blow.
We got to sell some. We got to sell spots here.
No one wants to put themselves between a bullet and a target. This is let Steve go.
This is you bring up a good point. We got Rainer Jackson. I want to get to him, but finish your point about the polling, which is a little surprising. This is going to be the defining issue in the fall of how it all breaks out. Jobs, and I want to give a shout out to the Washington Examiner. Thanks, my Maria. Interview today. They've got American jobs for American workers. This whole thing is the setting the stage for 2020.
Yeah, and I want to go back again. We were talking about the Politico story this morning about the 11-point rise in China being viewed as an enemy from January until now, up to 31%. Also, and again, this is a national poll. It's not like the swing state poll that we talked about from CNBC earlier. And also, this is clearly a somewhat overly weighted to Democrats. Every other poll that's out there shows Trump with a pretty healthy lead on head-to-head with Biden about the economy, and he's usually a slight lead when it comes to handling coronavirus. But this actually has it Biden as being more trusted than Trump on coronavirus, 42-35, so about 3-4 points higher than you see on most others. But again, I want to go back, but the main thing, I want to make sure we don't miss this. The fact that on who's better to lead against China, Biden 40, Trump 38, even if this is 3 or 4 points heavily to the Democrats, it's still relatively a jump ball.
Yeah.
We would think from this audience that Trump is a slam dunk, that he's the one doing it. The American public is split on this. There's a lot of growth potential for the president, and it shows this is going to be a massive wedge issue going into the fall.
Folks, this is going to be a throwdown in the fall, trust me. Now we've got one of the great leaders of the conservative movement and a black entrepreneur that has got no give up. We've got Hegseth and Rainer Jackson on the same day. No back down from either of these guys. Raheem What is happening with this Van Jones and these guys? Huawei. You got Raynard Jackson calling them out. What's going on?
Yeah, Raynard Jackson, the Black Americans for a Better Future founder and chairman. Raynard, you have this opinion piece up, I guess, at thyblackman.com. And I got to tell you, I was so glad to read it because not enough attention has been paid to the role of some of these media entities and organizations. You know, we did a story very recently about the CCP run organizations like CGTN and CCTV and CNN and Reuters and BBC sending their journalists to their global media summit. You picked up on something last week, and I know you have history and form with the National Association of Black Journalists. I believe in 2017 you wrote, I think that NABJ should change its name to National Association of Liberal Black Journalists. But Raynard, give us a little bit of context here, because it looked like they were about to engage in a conference with Huawei, which we know is a Chinese Communist Party Trojan horse into the Western world, trying to take over telecommunications infrastructures, trying to put the Chinese technology in the West and also take the West's technology back to China. Raynard, tell us about your piece and why specifically you had to call the NABJ out on this.
Yes, I'm a longtime member of NABJ, and no, I'm not a journalist. I'm a Christian. And so when I used to criticize them in the past, they would dismiss me by saying, oh, he's not even a member. Even though he's a columnist, he's not a member. So for decades now, I've taken out my annual membership with them. So when I criticize them, they just can't ignore me as an outsider. I'm a member of the group, and all of their leadership are liberal black journalists who works for black media outlets as well as the mainstream media. They claim they're nonpartisan, and just like the NAACP, the Urban League, are nonpartisan. Wink, wink. They are filled with a bunch of radical liberals, as indicated in my column. The town hall they were supposed to have last week on the misinformation surrounding the coronavirus was going to be sponsored by Huawei. Now, you're talking about misinformation is Yahweh and Huawei. Isn't it kind of rich that the people that's doing all the propaganda in the U.S. are the very ones that's going to sponsor a bunch of black liberal media outlets and journalists to deal with America propaganda versus Chinese propaganda? So that was the impetus of my column. And all of a sudden, Van Jones, radical media journalists, and Roland Martin, they all have come up with laryngitis. Isn't it amazing? Even LeBron James has gotten laryngitis. The very practice Raynard used.
Raynard, we're pressed for time here, so I just want to get onto this thing. Huawei was supposed to sponsor this event, but they weren't necessarily going to be transferring any money for this. But what you've discovered, and we talked about earlier, is that Huawei was also supposed to be the lead sponsor of this August summit they were hosting?
Well, yeah, our national convention is in D.C. this year in August, and we do it every presidential year in D.C. for all the obvious reasons. And so technically, when the NABJ say they hadn't received any sponsorship dollars for the event they canceled last week, that's because the deal was cut that they're going to put the money up during the August national convention. So they're kind of lying to us as well. And then now they got exposed. Now they've gone back retroactively, guys, and moved all their tweets.
We weren't getting any money for this event. We were getting money for the next event. Raynard, just tell me, when you see the new Black Panthers protesting outside a Chinese restaurant in Washington, D.C., what goes through your mind?
Right intent, wrong focus. They should be in front of the Chinese embassy, not in front of this guy from Hong Kong.
Raynard Jackson, what is your Twitter feed? I got to tell you, we love you here. You're a fighter. You came down to the wall with us in 120-degree temperature. You are everywhere a conservative needs to be.
Yes, my Twitter for our Black for a Better Future is at ABFBFDC, at ABFDC. They can send us a tweet there.
Raynard, thank you very much for joining us. Want to get you back on. We got to get a better connection next time. We'll get you back on. Okay, American Crusade is sold out on Amazon. How are you going to make a copy?
I bought all the copies.
Okay. By the way, the hashtag War Room Pandemic crowd really went buck wild
They
here.
do have this thing, this Kindle thing. What's,
you can get it on Kindle. You can get it on audio book.
But
and also you
owning
can,
the libs by downloading Kindle.
You can order it, and it back orders, so you'll get it as soon as they get. And it'll be, a
American
day
Crusade. You got to get it. I want to thank Rainer Jackson. I want to thank Dr. Edwards. I want to thank particularly Pete Hegseth for joining us here. Hashtag War Room Pandemic. We want to hear all of your comments at War Room 2020 at War Room Pandemic. Go to get the newsletter. Give us a review on podcast. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.
Everyone loves the benefits of compression socks, but they're just so hard to get on. Until now. Introducing the all-new Copperfit Energy Socks, redesigned for the first ever easy on, easy off fit to help reduce swelling, relieve tired, achy muscles, and provide energizing support. A new blend of stretch fabric for the most comfortable, easy on, easy off compression fit.
Being a SWAT commander, we train to win. The Copperfit Energy Socks, they didn't feel like other compression socks. They totally exceeded my expectations.
Our most powerful copper-infused fabric, woven into our easy-on, easy-off compression sock to help reduce swelling discomfort from prolonged sitting or standing.
I'm 38 and a half weeks pregnant. Copperfit Energy Socks worked beautifully.
Extra support around the arch and ankles for increased support and relief of muscle aches and pains.
I'm so excited about these socks. I'm so much more energized to go do things after a day of work. They just slip right on, yet they still have that same compression that you want.
A soft cushion footbed for all-day comfort.
I'm on my feet at least 9 to 10 hours a day. These were fantastic. A lot of compression socks are a little too thin, especially for what I do. With Copperfit, I could wear these every day.
Feel more energized. Feel more active. Just feel better.
They just hug your leg. It relieves all the pressure that you have. I have so much energy, I can go, hey, you want to dance?
The first ever easy on, easy off compression sock. The most comfortable compression sock you will ever wear. Get your Copperfit Energy Socks now online at GetEnergySocks.com for only $19.99 or call 1-800-978-1224. Order right now and we'll include a second pair of compression socks free.
I've never felt anything like it before.
No more pain, no more swelling, no more achy, tired feet.
I can never go back to regular compression socks again.
Don't settle for ordinary. Ask for the original by name.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. 15 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I back MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota.
I really like the fact that it was made in the USA. I think that USA products are a better quality product. I've tried a lot of other pillows, and nothing's worked like MyPillow.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now to give you deep discounts, not just on my pillows, but also my mattress toppers, sheets, and so much more. For example, you can get body pillows regularly $89.99, now only $29.99, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
I used to think that sheets were just sheets. I got the Giza Dream sheets. They are the most comfortable sheets I've ever had.
The Go Anywhere pillow is so easy to just roll up and take anywhere I want to go.
Go Anywhere pillow is really comfortable, so that's what I really like. It's nice and supportive, and it's nice and small.
The My Pillow topper, for the first time, has enabled me to have a cool night's sleep. I'm able to go to bed and just get rest.
That's 3 inches of wonderful that's in the My Pillow mattress topper. It's just like a firm cloud.
My Pillow helps me get a good night's sleep so I can do my job in the morning.
Go to MyPillow.com to get deep discounts, not just on My Pillows, but so much more. For example, you get body pillows regularly $89.99, now only $29.99. Or My Pillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
I'm Nick Bolton, and these days...
Hey there.
Hey there. It seems everybody has a pair of tactical sunglasses.
Good morning.
Morning. But what if you already wear glasses? Then you need these flip-up tack glasses. These new glasses fit right over your existing eyewear to give you all the benefits of our tack glasses while you comfortably wear your regular glasses. Plus, like all tack glasses, flip-up tack glasses feature Bell & Howell light filtering technology that makes invisible objects suddenly become visible. There's just nothing like them on the market today. Here you go, buddy. Thanks, Nick.
Act now to get your flip-up tack glasses for just $19.99, and we'll even ship them to you free. But wait, order today and you can get a second pair. Just pay a separate fee.